Today, debate is expected to continue at the state capitol over the bill that would create tougher punishment for fentanyl dealers. 9 News reporter Darius Johnson has been following this from the studio for us this morning. Darius, testimony lasted until almost 3 o'clock this morning.
Gary and Natasha, 12 hours of tearful testimony from family members and heated debate among state leaders when it came to the penalties for those who possess fentanyl. Right now, it is not a felony in the state of Colorado to possess less than 4 grams of fentanyl. However, family members, some district attorneys, and law enforcement officials think that should change. Right now at the Colorado State House, there is a bill meant to strengthen penalties for those who deal fentanyl. Right now, that's up for debate. Along with that, that bill will create an education campaign and will provide more funding for treatment. One of the biggest topics during those 12 hours was whether someone who possesses fentanyl should face criminal penalties like felony or incarceration. Democratic State Rep Leslie Herod wants to ensure those who survive a fentanyl poisoning aren't just thrown into jail, but given the resources and education. The sister of one of the 5 people poisoned by fentanyl in Commerce City in February calls this murder for profit and says her sister didn't have a drug problem. She was poisoned.
People are being killed without any idea what's happening to them. This happened to my sister, and I've spent countless nights haunted, thinking of her last moments and whether she knew what was happening to her. Those who purchase and use fentanyl unknowingly understand the risk of overdose they are taking, while those who are unknowingly being poisoned with fentanyl are effectively being murdered.
Now, the House Judiciary Committee is expected to take up the amendment phase of this bill. That is expected to happen at 1:30 this afternoon. That is before it is to be voted on. Now, Gary, once again, or Natasha rather, once again, you know, it's really moving to see all of this taking place at the State House as we see all of these different fentanyl deaths taking place across our state, regardless of the ages. And I think in every one of these situations, you know, many of these families continue to say it's poisoning because none of these people who are ingesting it actually know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very tricky drug out there. It is clearly a crisis with the number of deaths that we've had in a short amount of time. So I'm glad that they're debating this, and hopefully they're going to come to some sort of conclusion because it is a problem in our state. Yeah. Darius, thank you. New overnight, Colorado State Patrol is looking into a crash on E-470 that threw a person out of the car. CSW tweeted about it just before 8 o'clock last night. They say 2 cars were involved, one of which rolled over. We'll let you know if we learn anything else.
A man from Golden is in custody. He's accused of stealing catalytic converters from burned cars left in the burn area of the Marshall fire. Louisville police say that Edgar Antion Bencomo is accused of theft, trespassing, and possession of burglary tools. Last Friday, officers noticed his car parked in the driveway of a home that was destroyed. Officers then found evidence that led to his arrest.
A Colorado man has been hit with a 4th life sentence after killing multiple people with a hammer back in 1984. Last week, a Jefferson County jury convicted Alex Ewing of sexually assaulting and murdering Patricia Smith in 1984. She was killed in the townhome that she shared with her daughter and 2 grandchildren. Smith was killed 6 days before the murders of 3 members of the Bennett family. In both cases, the killer slipped in through an open garage door and attacked the victims with a hammer. Ewing did not address the court. His attorney says he maintains his innocence and plans to appeal.
The Environmental Protection Agency wants to change the label on Denver Metro's air quality from serious to severe. If that classification is approved, it means tighter regulations on businesses that release pollution in the state. The feds say that a year of monitoring data shows the Front Range hasn't been meeting the ozone standards required by the Clean Air Act. The severe label would require the transformulated gas during the summer to be sold, which is, they say, cleaner gas. It's ethanol. They also say it means stricter standards for the state's major source facilities. State Health Department handles that. The EPA says there are about 260 of those right now, like the Suncor plant. If the reclassification goes through, 470 facilities would be added to the list.
Industrial facilities will have to be now reassessed once again to see what else they can do to reduce emissions. So the permit requirements become even more stringent, and the state issues those permits for all the industrial facilities in our region.
So some experts we talked to estimate that the reformulated gas could raise prices by about 25 cents a gallon during the summer months, but they say other things like the war in Ukraine will have a much bigger impact when it comes to gas prices.
Now that CU Boulder has voted to advance Todd Salmon as their sole finalist for president, he will spend the next 2 weeks visiting campuses and answering questions at public forums. He was the only candidate announced as a finalist from the pool of 39. The board, by law, has to wait 14 days before the final vote. A new report shows inflation is the highest that it's been in 40 years. People are paying more for everything from housing costs to eggs.
Yeah, NBC's Bree Jackson explains how the White House is trying to get Congress to take some action.
From the gas pump to the grocery store, Americans are paying more. Figures show consumer prices rose 8.5% from a year ago.
Sometimes you have to make a choice on what bill's going to not get paid so that you can make sure that you got food on the table.
Food prices up nearly 9% from last year. Gas prices skyrocketed 48%. The president pointing the finger at pandemic disruptions and Russia's war on Ukraine.
Your family budget, your ability to fill up your tank, none of it should hinge on whether a dictator declares war and commits genocide in half a world away.
During a visit to Iowa, President Biden unveiled his plan to use ethanol to lower gas prices. The administration says it could shave off about 10 cents a gallon. Republicans insist Democrats' policies, such as COVID relief spending, are the problem.
And the answer is, this is not the direction in which to go.
The White House argues low unemployment numbers and job gains are signs their policies are helping Americans. Still, analysts predict a time lag on seeing results.
I think it's several months before we can start to see or feel or believe in any relief coming.
You got to take one day at a time. You got to worry about your health first. Got to worry about COVID.
COVID lockdowns in China could lead to more supply chain disruption and higher prices. Concerns for many Americans struggling to make ends meet. In Washington, Bree Jackson for NBC News.